Homie and the Dude, episode 13, and we are joined today by Ryan Brinkley. Thank you very much for coming on. Quickly, before we get into that, just a quick word from our sponsor. We have a new sponsor, guys. It is Veast. You can find them at veast.kitchen.com.
Veast.kitchen.
Veast.kitchen.
That's it. Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah.
And it's basically an amazing new vegan pop-up kitchen in Bristol that is pick-up only, with a chef that has 30 years of experience in the industry. Not only that, but has been inventing vegan food for nearly 5-6 years now. We can say we've tried the food. The meat is, the fake meat is so close to real meat that
I challenge you.
Yeah, we challenge you to try it and disagree with us, because it's absolutely incredible. Other than that, yeah. So for us on our end, guys, make sure you're liking, following, subscribing to the YouTube channel, doing all the good stuff. Hit us with the Holy Trinity. Share one of our posts as well. Other than that, let's get into this. So Ryan, what's up, dude? How you doing?
All good. Thanks for having me on, and shout out for Will for hooking this up.
Yeah, 100%.
For real. Will has been great.
Will's a badass.
Yeah. I saw a picture of you with Will and is it Kent?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Kent.
so yeah, that looked like a cool workout that you guys had. That was like a week ago or so.
Yeah. So yeah, Kent's a Bellator fighter. That was actually the first time I've met him. And yeah, essentially we're meeting up with him on Fridays at the moment, and coaching, really. I mean, Will's coaching. I'm just there to be like rolling fodder, really. But it's yeah, it's good. It's a good workout. Yeah, good fun.
So this is about you guys coaching Kent to get him prepared?
Not me, Will.
Will. Okay. And then so you're there. Gotcha.
Yeah. You're like a sparring partner, basically.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is around jiu-jitsu mostly?
Yeah. Grappling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Grappling. Nice one.
Okay, dope. So that's amazing. So you guys, so have you been doing any jiu-jitsu yourself? Do you do any jiu-jitsu with Will yourself, or is this the like first experience of that?
Jiu-jitsu, I mean, I've trained at a bunch of different places in jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu for me is currently my favorite pastime outside of Krav Maga. It is has been for, well, since I started 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. I live in Bath, which is about an hour and a half drive from 10th Planet Swindon. And before lockdown, I would drive there every day for jiu-jitsu.
Did you get the bug?
Is that good?
Yeah.
It is that good. And specifically 10th Planet, because there's no like limitations on what you do. So you learn all techniques that are like maybe not allowed in like IBJJF thing, and they fit everything together. Will has this really awesome way of kind of fitting like all techniques kind of flow into another, and like transitions all flow into another. So you never get that, you know, I saw this technique once, but I couldn't know how to get there to set it up to make it work. So you kind of you'll learn all of the kind of progressions and such first. And so I teach a grappling class in as part of my Krav Maga school, and we will be post lockdown affiliating under Will.
Amazing.
Yeah, our Bath grappling class is going to be affiliated under Will. So yeah, we'll be running the same program. But it's super cool.
Can I ask you a question? So it sounds like you fully got hooked by the jiu-jitsu bug, right? And we have as well, in probably a lot of a smaller, more narrow, condensed experience. But what would you say? Like, how could you describe what that bug is? You know, it's because I'm trying to think of what it is as well. But what, in your words, what would you say it is?
So for me, like most of because I really didn't like jiu-jitsu for a really long period of time. I did it anyway because you kind of have to, right? You have to have some kind of grappling to be good at martial arts. So I just kind of forced myself to do it anyway. But the thing that actually, if I go into first of all, like why I went to 10th Planet. So I was training at a different jiu-jitsu school, and I watched Polaris. Do you guys know about Polaris?
Yeah.
Well, so I watched the Polaris, and they did, I can't remember who it was that was competing. They were going in through some leg locks, and then somebody tapped, and I had competed and I had a couple of medals from a gi jiu-jitsu school, and I didn't know what happened, and I couldn't explain to anyone what had happened in the match.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've competed in this, like I have a couple of medals in my shed, like how can I not know the sport? So then I wanted to try specifically no gi, and I went to try 10th Planet, and the thing that sucked me in was the level of how technical it is. Like, it doesn't matter how aggressive you are, which for me, coming from kind of a striking background, I went in like mega aggressive, like I can win, I can totally win, you know. That really doesn't work, and you have to know what you're doing, and you have to there's like an endless web of this links with this and that, and it sucked me in immediately, and I've not been able to stop doing it since. So yeah.
What's it for you?
Do you know what I was about to say? For me, it's interesting. When I got two different things out of it. So definitely. So for example, we did both Gracie Barra Jiu-Jitsu, and we've also done a little bit of 10th Planet, but we did it through like some of Bravo's instructional videos online, and also we bought like his like Mastering the System book and have like worked through a couple of chapters of that. For me, I would say I agree with you in the fact that, like, if you look at me, dude, I'm a skinny dude. Like, for people who know me as well, this t-shirt's baggy. I'm skinny. Like, I'm a thin dude. And, you know, that's something I realized straight away when you get into the gym in jiu-jitsu, is that no matter how strong you are, no matter when you're trying to lift someone off you, or, you know, break some sort of grip or whatever, gable grip or whatever they're doing, you know, or you're trying to like release a submission or get yourself out of submission, you instantly realize, like you said, that power and your strength means nothing compared to knowledge almost. And I think there's very few things on this planet that are like, if you are good at it mentally, and if it's a physical thing, if you're good at it mentally, but not so good like strength-wise or whatever, then you still have an edge. And I think that's really awesome. And for me, the other two things that really enticed me was, I'm dyslexic as well, and a big part of jiu-jitsu for me is I need visual like stimulus to learn things. Like, visually learning things really helps me. So actually, I say visually learning, I mean like tactile, hands-on things that are presented in front of me. And so for me, being able to roll and, like, it sounds so weird, feel a person, you know, like, and be connected to them and know where their weight is and where their momentum's going and things like that. As a dyslexic person, I tune into that a whole lot better than I do other things in terms of sports. And for me, it was a really weird, I used to roll with my eyes closed. I said that to Will. I often roll with my eyes closed when I roll, just because I can feel it better. I almost like understand what's happening even better because I can focus in so much further. So that, and then also finally the competitive thing. Like, after, I said to Tom, after the first 3 classes, I threw up. I threw up during the first class, and I threw up after the first 3 classes in the car park of the gym. And to me, any sport that pushes me that far physically without me running anywhere instantly has my respect. Like, I'm like, you're like, I'm your bitch 100%. Like,
for me, like, I'm going to take a little bit of more of a philosophical
go for it
approach, but I think it's like, you know, people say that if you do something at super intense levels, you get into the zone where you literally cannot, you're like removed from being able to think about anything else. So if you're going really high speeds at something, or just anything that is like one of those high risk sports, well, I reckon for early stages with jiu-jitsu, I would label it as a high risk sport, because you're just like, you're in survival mode, right? You're in like this primal survival mode. It feels very caveman primal. Yeah. Like, when you're in with someone that knows what they're doing and you don't, it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's very scary, and, you know, you're tapping into like all kinds of adrenaline, and so there's that. And then you come out of that by adding some of the mental stuff and actually being able to do something that you wanted to do. And I think there's a huge, some sort of like endorphin release when you do that. That's tapping into, something around how your brain is dealing with jiu-jitsu. So yeah, all 3 perspectives. But once you get hooked, you're hooked.
That's it. There's no turning back.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think your point about Bravo's web is so beautiful as well. Like the web is a perfect way to describe it. I've always said it was, to me, I was like, it's always a tree, but a web is so much better to describe it. Everything interlinks with each other. You know that your like dogfight position will then you can transition from there to 3 different areas, whether you want to go into half guard, whether you want rubber guard, whether you want to go back, whether you want to go truck position. You've got all these different options, and you're like, and that's just from being in one move where you're in dogfight with someone. And you're like, okay, well, instantly you can see the variations, the possibilities. That's why people who train under Bravo, people like Boogie, and what's his name, Vance. What's his name? I can't remember. Anyway, another guy. That's why they're throwing submissions that people have never seen before. That's why Ben Eddy is throwing Hindu guillotines that people are like, what the hell is that you're fucking doing? And it's because new shit is being invented. And I love that you said, Will mixes traditional stuff with also this new 10th Planet stuff, and then also gives you the whole transition between the moves. I think the combination of Bravo's web and, we also agreed after talking to Will, his teaching sounds phenomenal.
Awesome. Yeah. It's awesome. Truly awesome. Have you guys, do you guys know of Nathan Orchard? He's a 10th Planet.
I've heard of him actually, yeah.
So is he UK?
No, he is. He's an American guy, but he travels around a lot. But he's really worth watching. And you might have seen him on, because I know you guys watch EB. I can't remember if he's on EBI. He's definitely been on Combat Jiu-Jitsu a bunch of times.
Okay.
Either way, he invented a thing called the Dead Orchard, which is pretty cool. And but anyway, Will sent me a video like when I first started in there, because I got kind of I just wanted to learn kind of how to go everywhere and piece things together. And I think he sends them to most new people. There's a video that Nathan Orchard has somewhere on YouTube, and he has literally like mapped out on a wall like a big spider web linking all the techniques together. Like when you're here, you can go, and it is really cool. If I remember, I'll WhatsApp it to you at some point. You can see it.
That'd be amazing, dude.
That'd be cool.
For that. Yeah, no, I think it's kind of brilliant. We've always said, it's secretly genius.
Yeah.
And it's very cool. What I want to ask is, obviously, Will is doing his teaching and whatnot. Have you, as a teacher, taken any of his philosophy or anything like that he does and applied that to your Krav Maga classes that you teach?
To be honest, so my style is pretty similar to Will's style, and that's kind of another reason why I really like 10th Planet Swindon. It's like super chill. You just walk in, you relax. Everyone just sits around nerding out, talking about, I don't know, Joe Rogan or like video games or movies or Rick and Morty, and it's really cool. It's just like it's a nice chilled place to be. And then when you train hard, and then we chill out and relax again. And it's that's how I run my training. And when I went up there, and I just felt like you're there all the time, even on your first day there. You just kind of hang out. So yeah, I do try to. I try to keep the same kind of thing in my school. But I would say that we try. Our styles are quite similar.
Yeah, cool. No, that's dope, dude. Because again, like something that we really appreciate is when schools are done in the way that Will's doing it. And if you're doing it the same, that's ever so much more appealing to people who have never done it before. I think a big thing with martial arts is getting someone to take the leap, and often there's a lot of fear about, getting beaten up or going in and people making fun of you and stuff like that. And in bad environments that can happen. And I'm not going to say to people, all martial arts are super respectful and everyone's super sound. You do get douchebags, you do get dickheads. It's how it goes. But at the end of the day, if it's run right, if it's done right, then yeah, you can create a really beautiful environment. And that's dope to hear that you're doing that.
Some people do kind of thrive under that like more strict, rigid, traditional way, and that's totally cool. That's totally fine. But yeah, it doesn't really suit me. But I know that some people really do get behind that. So yeah, I think it's just you just got to choose and pick and go where it makes sense for you individually.
Yeah, that's a good point. So talk to us a little bit about Krav Maga. And so we have sort of a perception of it for sure, but it'd be great to get your introduction to it.
Before I do that, can I get what you guys have heard about? Because there's usually two ways people have heard about it in general, and I'd quite like to see like where you guys are at before I tell you about it.
Cool.
Okay.
Do you want to go first? Or do you
Yeah,
want to
mine's probably like really
condensed.
really basic. Yeah.
Go for it.
So I don't even know like when I heard about it first, but somehow I attached it to the Israeli equivalent of the SAS, which I think is called the Mossad, and they're like the SEAL Team 6 guys, right? Just the straight up badasses that go in and do like really incredible, dangerous stuff, and their defense discipline is Krav Maga. So in my mind, it was like this. It's kind of shrouded in mystery because those guys are shrouded in mystery. And I didn't actually know there was Krav Maga schools till recently, until actually we got in touch with you. So I didn't even realize that it was like a public thing that you could learn. But yeah, I guess I'm intrigued by the special powers that Krav Maga has. Like you have like almost like the Bruce Lee Jeet Kune Do, like the 1-inch heart punch, and all this stuff. That's what it feels like it's shrouded in. Like there's some real like secret weapons in there that no one gets to know until they get invited into like the secret society, so to speak. But that's that's all I know.
Okay.
So for me on my end, I knew that, again, I knew that it was based on the Israeli Defense Force as well, that it had been a martial art that had actually been around and had history like way before that though as well. Something that I learned recently though is that it's actually considered one of the original like MMA martial arts, that it's actually one of the first martial arts to really combine different techniques, things like Aikido, wrestling, judo, karate, things like that. Obviously now I actually then watch videos and try to learn a bit about what the movements and things that people are doing. From what I could tell, the two things that I got is that from what I've read, it's evolved from even further from what I've read, because now I see people doing like Lethway headbutts and Muay Thai knees and elbows. And, it seems that this mixed martial art has maybe like grown into more in terms of what's been added, I guess, from what I read to what's now in play. The other thing I noticed was predominantly every single thing that I read, every single person that I watched talking about it was like, this typically is not something that will be used in like a cage fighting thing. It's not typically something that will be used in a ring. This is like pretty much 100% for real life situations, which is why what I found and then realized was that a lot of the footage is people disarming people with knives, weapons, guns, things like that. I assume is because in life, that's what people come at you with,
Yeah.
and it's designed to deal with that kind of stuff. So my knowledge is now that it's a big mixture of beautiful different types of martial arts, which makes it super dangerous because mixed martial arts is the most dangerous one. And I think the other thing that I did read, kind of similar to Tom, is that the army that started it, the original veterans that then passed it on to the public teaching, like the clientele teaching of it, kept some stuff just for the army. And apparently the guys who originally taught it were closely monitored by the army because they didn't want all of the stuff to get out. So again, I've just heard conspiracies that there is further knowledge that you can gain when you get into the actual army and work through to those levels.
So some of that's pretty accurate, so great job. But
yeah, my shit was like all completely off.
That's all I'm saying. No, it's no, that yours is the common conception. It is Tom, obviously I'm talking to you right now. It is it's like a mystical thing that people do kind of behind closed doors and stuff. But so I reckon if I tell you a bit of like kind of how it was created, it might give you a bit more of an insight into what it is. So I'll start with that. So like first of all, Imi, who's the guy who created it, Imi Lichtenfeld, pretty well every martial arts, every Krav Maga school, even the ones that have just popped out of nowhere, like they've just decided they're going to teach Krav Maga, all of them kind of cite Imi as the kind of head guy, because he's the guy that created the whole system. Okay, so let me tell you a bit about him. So he was born in, and don't quote me on like time frame because I'm not amazing at that, but yeah, roughly I'm going to say like 1910, I think, ish, around there. He was born in Hungary, right? His dad was a circus acrobat and a chief inspector in police, right? And he was running a gym where he taught like gymnastics and self-defense. So Imi kind of grew up around like really hard training, and he turned into a champion boxer, a champion wrestler, and a champion gymnast. Those were his like disciplines. So he was like a badass. Like if he was around now, he'd be UFC for sure. Yeah. Like he was a badass. And so anyway, yeah, he used to do just like, you know, competing and that kind of stuff. And then obviously in his like 20s, so let's say 1930-ish, he was, you know, he moved to Czechoslovakia area, and there was like massive anti-Semitism, right? I don't know if I mentioned that he's Jewish, but he's Jewish.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So there's riots and there's like gangs just beating on Jewish people. So Imi and some other like pro athletes kind of banded together to kind of like create, you know, to kind of defend everybody and teach somebody, you know, teach some of the locals like how to defend himself and stuff like that. So at that kind of point, he started to pick out what was good and what wasn't so good for defending yourself out of wrestling and boxing. So like which like stance, you know, what things are going to work when maybe there's a few people there or someone's trying to hit you with a stick, or, you know, what actually works on a hard floor. There's no mats, you know, things like this. So he started to kind of work on that, and he like immediately started to try to piece stuff together because he was trying to like teach, you know, his people to defend themselves. So he left Czechoslovakia to join the British Army. It was like a Czech Legion of the British Army. And to fight against the Nazis. And then pretty soon after that, they picked him out for being like a badass and put him in charge of teaching kind of hand to hand and also some knife fighting and things like that for his like army unit. And then when Israel was formed, and the IDF, which is the whole of the Israeli Defense Forces, including like Mossad and stuff, when IDF was formed, they put him as, his title was head of fitness and Krav Maga. So Krav Maga literally translates to contact combat. So you can take that however you want. Like it's hand-to-hand fighting, right? Self-defense, whatever. It's hand-to-hand fighting. It means contact combat. So that's where the name came from, and he just developed it into like a military program originally. So it had to be super simple, so you could teach it in a short period of time. Had to be made out of the most effective, so the most like explosive, like, you know, I'm looking for knockout punches. I'm looking for the most effective thing that you could teach to anyone in a short period of time, right? Because they don't have a long time necessarily to train. They have to teach soldiers as they come through, right?
Yeah.
And that was like the original model of Krav Maga. He also held like boxing competitions and stuff to make people better and things like that. But then when he was discharged, when he left there, he took on a few of his students, because obviously in Israel you have to go into the forces as mandatory service.
Consignment,
yeah. So
or conscription, rather.
That kind of thing, yeah. So he took some of his students from afterwards and kind of pulled them together, and they came up with by studying other martial arts too, like you said. One guy went off and studied Aikido for a long time. They brought in judo. They were doing all kinds of stuff. And then they started a gym, like a self-defense gym, where they called it civilian Krav Maga, right? Mm-hmm. Which has developed into what we do now, but a long way down the line.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that when you say, and I mean, now it's split into sectors. So there was a guy called Ayao Yanalov, who's currently the head instructor of KMG.
Yeah.
Which is the biggest Krav Maga association in the world. He was Imi's number 2. He was his like next guy, right? And he did like he helped to develop the system into what it is now, which is it starts off like super basic. We're going to learn those kind of things that you would learn on a basic military Krav Maga, but without like trying to kill people, right? We learn reasonable force, we learn de-escalation, we learn awareness, avoidance, things like this, alongside like the most effective way of maybe getting out of some releases and learning to strike so that, you know, you can end things quickly. And then as you get better, it becomes kind of a bit more about your progression as a practitioner, so like as a fighter, I suppose, rather than alongside your self-defense tools, rather than just being the super basic self-defense things you would learn at the beginning. So there is now different sectors. We have like civilian Krav Maga, we have law enforcement Krav Maga, we have military Krav Maga. There is no way that you're going to learn military Krav Maga until you get to a G patch. But the difference is really that like it's not applicable to you. Like it doesn't make sense for you to be trying to break someone's neck if they're grabbing you by the shirt, right? It just doesn't make sense. It's not.
But it's cool. Idea. It's cool to know it, just in case.
So like relevant and effective things are lower down the syllabus, and then less, you know, more so fancy pants stuff is further up the syllabus, and that's kind of how it works.
So let me just also check this, because I was doing some looking into the whole ranking system, because I did Kushirio Kempo karate when I was younger, and obviously it's a belt system with dans as you get into the higher level, similar belt system to judo and things like that. I know that you guys have like a belt system, but also you mentioned patches. Now I know that it goes P, G, and E. What level are you at, and what did it take to get you from P to G? And you know, where are you looking to get from G to E, or are you keeping it at G for now?
I was gonna be, damn it, COVID. I was supposed to be in Israel testing for my E patch in this summer.
Shit. Yeah.
But that won't happen now till next year probably. But there we go.
So tell us the progression. How does that work?
So it is based originally off of the judo syllabus. So like at the beginning it was based, which is like, that's where, you know, everyone takes the belt system from judo because they were the first people to do the belts. Yeah. But there's 5 before black. We have P1 to 5 before like that one. And then you would go into the dans. We have G1 to 5. And then they have expert levels, which is the, in judo it would be like the red and white, but like if you compare it to those traditional style of martial arts, that's how it works. If you compare it to like jiu-jitsu, where it takes many years, then your expert patch is more like your black belt than your graduate patch.
Yeah. So your G5, what would you put that as in let's say the jiu-jitsu world?
Jiu-jitsu, so yeah, in jiu-jitsu I'd be like a 4-stripe brown belt.
Okay.
But in
straight killer, dude.
Yeah,
straight killer.
So you know that neck breaking technique. I can see it in your eyes, dude.
That was a random thing. That's like, we don't do like death touch stuff. Just the misconception, right? So jiu-jitsu, you train to kill people, right? You're choking somebody, you keep choking him, he'll die.
Yeah.
Boxing, you train to punch somebody in the chin. You punch somebody in, if you get like Ken, who me and Will trained with. If he hits you in the face and you're just a standard human being, probably gonna die. It ain't gonna be a good day. You know, like so it's not like Krav Maga. We don't do these like there is a lot of mysticism on that, but really our goal is take people that don't know how to defend themselves, make them good enough to make them understand the situations, and how they can avoid or de-escalate or not be targeted in the first place. And then if they do get targeted, some really simple stuff to get away, and then kind of trying to toughen them up like you would in a normal martial arts class. So if you go to boxing, you're going to get tougher because people are going to punch you in the face. If you go to judo, you're going to get tougher because people are going to throw you on the floor. Jiu-jitsu, people are going to choke you. You know, you're going to get tougher over time. But our primary goal isn't about competing and getting medals. Our primary goal is about being safe in your day-to-day life. So that's really the only difference.
Do you know what I wanted to ask? Because I read an interesting fact about it, that you guys apparently don't start sparring until G2. Was that the case for your gym, or is that not a thing at all?
I mean, there might be some gyms like that, but like in my gym, you can spar after like 2 weeks of training.
So
I was going to say it seemed a bit weird to me. I was going to say that definitely seemed odd.
yeah. What does sparring look like? Are
I
you
was about to ask that.
So you would like what equipment are you wearing and how does it go down?
So we do. There's a lot. I mean, in most most Krav Maga schools, you're going to be doing like kickboxing for your sparring, that kind of thing. In my school, we do every evening. We have a self-defense lesson, we have a striking lesson, and we have a grappling lesson. So in the self-defense, we do like pressure testing. So you're going to try and stay safe while maybe a couple of people are trying to attack you, or you're going to be fighting with one guy and then another guy's going to come strangle you and you're going to try and free yourself, stuff like this.
How real is that, dude? Like, is it play acting or is it like actually getting hands on and like squeezing and like,
I guess
yeah,
what
it can grab you.
Yeah, what percent?
It is really difficult to genuinely strangle. Like if you ever in jiu-jitsu, if you try and submit somebody by like strangling them,
Yeah.
it's not effective.
No,
so
no.
like don't it's like you can go quite hard with these things. Sometimes we'll do like you're going to grab them and you're going to drop them on the floor and you're going to try and we've got mats, everyone's safe.
Yeah.
It's just that's how we would like pressure test the techniques, just kind of see that they work. And the idea is really just free yourself and you know, keep fighting like you would in a sparring session.
Flow state.
Right. And then in the grappling, we would do like jiu-jitsu, maybe ground and pound, depending on how we're what we're doing that day. And then in the striking, we would do something like kickboxing, something like this. So
in the ground and pound or just the mat stuff, would it be similar to just people rolling in a jiu-jitsu class?
Yeah, exactly the same.
Yeah.
Literally.
Okay. Yeah. And then kickboxing, you'd have, you know, sort of bigger gloves on, headgear on, pads on your legs.
We don't tend to use headgear. Have you tried before sparring in headgear? I don't like it.
Yeah.
We do gum shields. We do like boxing gloves, so like 14, 16 ounce, depending on how big you are. And some people use shin guards of varying different degrees. So like you might have like, some people like to have thick ones, some people like to have thin ones. So yeah, I mean, no one's gonna like, they're not gonna try and kill each other in sparring. That's the whole thing. It's about getting better. So like the same when you
Ryan, one sec, your audio's gone a bit weird, dude.
Sorry, mate.
I think it's back.
Is that better?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, sorry, it just went weird for a second. Can you just repeat that last little bit? Sorry, dude.
I've forgotten where I was.
Yeah, no, so we were just talking about kickboxing and some people headgear and stuff, and some people wear pads.
Yeah, we do like gum shields, groin guards, boxing gloves, standard like you would in a kickboxing.
Nice. So it's practical. Like you see some schools that, you know, like let's say I don't know, I did Wing Chun, so I'm not having a go at Wing Chun, but some schools they a lot of it is theory based, and you like full on sparring happens at a much more advanced level. Right. And so as much as you're trained in techniques, there's nothing to replicate actually having someone coming on you, feeling their space, feeling their presence within your space. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah, there's definitely schools of Krav Maga out there that do that, but it's not a good way to train. So I started out in a school where my coach was like, he had a background in Thai boxing, and catch wrestling, and he was a Marine, and he's massive and a badass. He does for fun. He'll just swim out for an hour, go down to a wreckage, and then swim back again. He's a nutter. Anyway, when he started out and he opened our club, I went immediately there as soon as it opened. It was 2 classes a week, and he did the same kind of thing I'm talking about. Like it was a mixture of everything, right? It was a little bit of everything. And then I wanted more, and I was like, where can I go? What can I do? And he recommended Thai boxing, so I started doing Thai boxing. There was only one session of Thai boxing where I was training, and I was like, right, what else can I do? And he was like, go and do jiu-jitsu. So I was like, cool, I'll go and do jiu-jitsu. And I was training like 5 times a week, and loving it. And then he's really kind of guided my the way that I train my students, to be honest, the way that he did with me, which is one thing he said to me was, you should aim to be like the top 30% in every martial art. So, you know, that's what I've done. Like, I went around and I've tried to learn as much as I can from a bunch of different places. Like, I've done judo. I went to practice some Kyokushin karate in Bristol at one point. I've done a bunch of different Muay Thai classes and boxing, and jiu-jitsu is my current favorite. But until 10th Planet, boxing was 100% my favorite. I try to make all that come into my classes. So, you know,
Nice.
yeah.
Do you know what I was going to ask, actually? Because obviously, you know, when you talk about MMA and we talk about, you know, Anderson Silva, you know, he's amazing striker, incredible Muay Thai, as well as incredible grappling, black belt in jiu-jitsu. Like, he's all over the place. But typically, though, everyone goes, Anderson Silva is a striker.
Yeah.
I was going to say, what, like, in Krav Maga, do you have, like, I mean, whether you're sparring or whether it's real life, do you have a, like, area where you're like, I'd rather stay on my feet and throw kicks, or I'd rather get you to the ground? Like,
Good question. So, so generally speaking, self-defense wise, you want to be on your feet, right?
Mhm.
Like, I mean, even if you're looking at MMA, unless you're the like submissions guy, then you want to be on your feet, because you can't get, you know, if someone's going to pin you down and punch you in the face, it's going to suck. So, like, I mean, you guys were talking with Will on that podcast about wrestling being the like the thing, right, for MMA, and that's definitely true. And the reason for that is, if you're a good wrestler, you decide where the fight happens, right? Like, you can choose to keep it on your feet from not getting taken down, or you can choose to put it on the floor. So my feeling towards it is, it depends on what you're trying to do. Like, if you're really fighting for your life, then you want to be staying on your feet and like trying to strike your way out there, right? You can watch like YouTube videos of like boxer knocks out 4 guys and goes home. Like, I'm not saying everyone's going to be that guy, but like, it's a good tool. Like, it's a good plan, right? So then the second thing, and this is what I think that people overlook for grappling and self-defense, is it gives you a soft option. Like, it's not always appropriate to just smash someone in the face. Like, you know, if you're good at grappling, you can control somebody. You can put them down on the floor and you can talk to them, you know, and say, look, please calm down. I don't want to have this conversation. I did 6 years in security in Bristol on the doors and such, and I would definitely prefer to be using grappling in that situation to kickboxing.
What doors did you man? What clubs were you at?
So Pranges was my main one. Do you remember Pranges?
Yeah. That still has the sign. Is that an Old Market where it is?
Corn Street.
Corn Street.
Oh, it's Corn Street. Yeah. It still has the sign up there.
To be fair, I mean, this was a while ago now, but like, most of the clubs that I worked at back then, they're not there anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
But that was one I really liked. I did also I mean, I got into Krav through security. Like, when I took my SIA badge, the guy you do like I forgot what they call it, physical intervention. This was 10 years ago, so I'm trying to remember. They have like a physical intervention part where you do how to escort a semi-compliant person out of a building.
That's subtext for someone that's only had 8 pints and not 12.
Right. So essentially, you've got somebody who wants to go with you anyway, and you just guide him outside. And I tell you what, it is useless. It is truly useless. So anyway, the guy running my physical intervention park says to us all, he's like, yeah, I've got to teach you this, but it is terrible. And he recommended, he's like, if you really want to take this seriously and you want to like know what you're doing and stay like within the law, go and take a Krav Maga class. So I booked on that night. And I like I did with 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, I immediately fell in love with it from my first session. It just never looked back, really.
So dude, I don't want to like dwell on this, but can you tell us a little bit about like what you have heard of the super secret stuff? So one thing you mentioned was being able to like you probably know a little bit of it, but there's probably some of it that you've heard. There's a little bit of like talking or whatever. Come on.
So one thing just on the super I have to shout out John Bullock, who is the head of Krav Maga Elite that I'm currently a part of.
Okay.
He loves to say secrets is his thing. Everyone's like, oh, you can't come to this training, I've got secrets. It's a joke, but he does it all the time. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it's not really like that. So it's sectors. It's split into sectors. So we have like a women's self-defense sector where we might have the techniques that are for smaller people, totally applicable to smaller men as well. Also like hair grabs, totally applicable to men with long hair and me with my beard. Stuff like that. It's just, it's just got like specific things. So your general civilian Krav Maga is, like I said, the general techniques. You then have like law enforcement, which is going to be a bit more based around control and restraint and the law. And then so I guess you could think that was super secret, but like if you ask someone, they'll tell you it's just control and restraint. And again, like the military style. So honestly, and we had it was really great actually. Over lockdown, the head of KMG UK, John again, who I just said about, he got us a kind of, I guess, like a podcast with the current head of Krav Maga in the IDF, and he was explaining the things that they do and stuff like this. And essentially, what my understanding, what the difference is between military Krav Maga and civilian Krav Maga is that it's just super dumbed down. Not because for any reason, it's just you have to cram it in. You get like an hour a week, whereas I get 3 hours a night with my guys, So you have to do like a week. I don't even know. It could be even less than that. But so it tends to be the simple stuff that you teach rather than the secret stuff. There are, again, as you go up, there's certain curriculum on the military Krav Maga that like comes in at expert level, but it's like you could train it. You could go to HQ, KMG HQ in the UK, and you could say, "Hey, John, I want to learn some of these techniques." And provided you're not insane, he'd probably teach it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's fair. I was gonna say, it's interesting that you say, you were a bouncer and whatnot, and don't get me wrong, like as people who live in Bristol and we live right in the center, and I'm 22 myself, so I go out often. It's a rowdy place. Like I can imagine you dealt with some pretty crazy shit when you were a bouncer, and I can imagine, it's interesting to me. I was actually going to say to you, obviously it started being an Israeli thing. It was like you said, it started with the whole teaching Jewish people to fight against anti-Semitism, fight against the fascists that they were dealing with, so on and so forth. I was going to ask you whether you had any connection to Judaism or anything like that, whether you were involved in that, or whether Krav Maga as a whole at this point has evolved so much that anyone's taking part in it, or whether it's still got like the core Jewish like line in the higher reaches.
So, I mean, a lot, not all, but a lot of the top guys in Krav Maga are in Israel. They're Israeli. Yeah. So obviously a large proportion of those are Jewish.
Yeah.
But there's also like some really top guys outside of, like the highest grade, Tommy Blom from Sweden. He actually competed in MMA, and he had Alexander Gustafsson in his corner and like trained at the same gym. And like there's some really like, there's some really tough, legit guys out there like all around the world. But obviously Israel is like the place to be for Krav Maga. I'm sure they have some degree of, there will be NAF schools in Israel too, just as there are everywhere in the world. But it's like most of the top people out there. Now, I'm not Jewish, no, but it's not like a specifically Jewish thing. You won't. I mean, I wouldn't know actually, to be honest. Maybe everybody is, but I've never really thought about it. I've never. I don't think. Actually, I tell a lie. I taught a class in a synagogue in Bristol.
That's amazing. Dude, that sounds like absolute scenes. That sounds so hilarious.
I did like a course for some of the kids. So I used to train with somebody that trained there, and they wanted like a group of kids that attend the synagogue to do some self-defense classes.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah, I went along and did, I think, like 5 or 6 sessions with them. It was really fun, actually. It was really nice. Everyone was really awesome. Yeah, it was good.
I was gonna mention both kids and women as being really, sort of perfect candidates because typically they're underpowered
Mhm.
and can be in situations where, if something went down, yeah, they could, whatever, get hurt, whatever, and having a technique to, I guess, escape or just to defend yourself in a really effective way would be super important. So I could see Krav Maga being really a featured thing for like how much of your population, your school population, is kids and women.
So that's a really good question. Now, my kids class has always, and I've been teaching the kids class for like 4 years. My kids class it's been female, pretty much exclusively the whole way through. I mean, I've had a few lads in and stuff, and at one time for a little bit it was about 50-50. But like my teenage girls are killers. They love boxing, they love wrestling. It's crazy, and like they're so much fun. But as for my adult class, I mostly get people. I mostly get men who have maybe tried other martial arts and then maybe got beat up at some point.
Okay.
Things like that. I get a lot of that, and I get a lot of like people that maybe don't feel that they are as safe walking. They've had some kind of incident or they've had some kind of thing, and there's a lot of people that they try like traditional martial arts, and then it's not designed to teach you how to defend yourself. Do you know, like, or maybe it was like 200 years ago or something, but
Now it's designed for rules and a ref and judges and all that shit.
But also, there's another aspect to it. Like traditional MMA stuff right now is designed to lean into a situation where my thought is that Krav Maga, a lot of it is to de-escalate a situation and get the hell out of it, especially when you're talking about women and kids, right? So it's a whole different mindset.
Sure. And also, like, I mean, there is the side that, like, a professional mixed martial arts fighter probably doesn't need to take a self-defense class. And I always say about the one I use is when people ask me a lot of time about boxing, because I've had a few guys come from boxing and ask and say like, oh, I want to learn some self-defense because I'm not sure about how my boxing is going to hold up. And like, I mean, the thing that I would say is do you think Mike Tyson needs to take self-defense lessons? I think he's okay. But
Yeah.
on the other side, reasonable force is something that if you're worried about self-defense, you just must know. Like, you must have some kind of understanding of the law, and because you can get yourself in so much trouble, like thinking you're okay. And also there's the flip side. So there's that bit in the back of your mind when something's going on, you're thinking, oh no, like, can I do this? Can I hit him? Like, I might get in trouble, and that can lead you to get like pretty seriously beaten up. It's just a like question in the back of your head because you don't know what you're allowed to be doing. So a lot of what we do is, again, like you said, around like avoidance, de-escalation, get out of there, that kind of thing. But it's also about knowing what you can do, what you have the right to, what you can legally do to protect yourself and other people, if you're so inclined.
Yeah. Do you know what? It was interesting as well because after like seeing some of these videos and dudes are like, oh, and here and you do this and then you get headbutt the dude. I was like, oh, that came out of nowhere. I was like, oh, holy shit. And then a second ago you just mentioned you were like, oh, and you got your classic hair pulls and stuff. I'm like, in Krav Maga, again, something that like you've said, this is a real life, and there's a difference between martial arts and self-defense. Like something you just said is, an MMA fighter isn't going to come and ask for self-defense classes, and to someone who doesn't understand the difference, they might be going, well, why would an MMA fighter need self-defense? Well, they're two different things. Self-defense is dealing with shit that's going to happen in front of you. MMA is you are fighting a dude who is a chess wizard of the body, same as you,
Yep.
under rules, under regulations, and there's bloody Herb Dean stood in between you to make sure you don't get murdered.
Exactly.
You know, like,
Yeah.
it's just how it is.
Speaking of that, do you have any considerations for practical weapons? Like, I'm thinking about women, right? So I know my wife Tracy, she did a self-defense class, and one of the things they taught her was to, I think, like put the key ring like in one of her fingers and have one of the keys sticking out or something like that type of thing where you know,
Straight shank a dude if he attacks you.
yeah. Well, dude, I mean, fair play for if a woman was in that situation,
Oh,
you know, like let her like
Get
use
out,
whatever she can to get the hell out. But do you use any of that stuff?
So we would refer to this as common objects. So first of all, you're not allowed to carry anything with you that you have solely for the purpose of fighting somebody off. You can't do that. If you have something that happens to be there, you can, like, if someone happened to attack you in a samurai swords shop, you could pick one of them up and right? But
otherwise you can't carry one of those into a pub, can you?
But you can't bring that with you. Yeah. So, anyway, so we do a little bit on like stick type weapons. We call them like stick type, so it's like, you know, using a stick to like not get beat up, or shield type, like we would use, maybe like you picking up a chair or something to make distance, things like that. And another part of awareness is kind of like knowing like what's around you and what could you potentially do. I don't like the idea of the key in the hand.
It's like broken knuckles to me.
I've got a lot of broken knuckles. Like my fingers don't straighten out. Like, and I got plenty of scars also from hitting like pads and bags. You know, like, and obviously people. But the thing is, if you put a bit of metal in your body and you try to hit something, regardless of what that thing is, it might hurt that guy, but it's gonna hurt you as well.
That's a good point.
I don't really recommend that kind of thing. I mean, yeah, there's maybe a phone would be better, like something like that, like holding the phone, because it's gonna, you know, hit him with a phone bit, or you could use like a pen if you wanted to, I suppose. But I wouldn't really recommend.
I
just love someone like with a £1,000 iPhone, just like bashing someone in the face with their fucking iPhone. I also love that you're thinking about this as well, Ryan. I love that, like, your mind is like, you know, you can use your iPhone. To me, like, I imagine in my head, I'm like, you're coming to class and you're like, right, today we're going to do chair defense. So I brought a bunch of fold-up chairs, different types. I went to IKEA. You're like, I picked up a bunch of fucking chairs. Let's see how you defend yourself. I love it, dude. I think, do you know what? Do you know what's hilarious? You're selling me on wanting to try this more and more as we go. Like, I'm literally like, because here's the other thing as well. I said to Tom, interestingly, like, when I just came back from traveling pre-COVID, literally 2 weeks before lockdown hit England, I turned to Tom, Tracy, my mom, and my girlfriend, and I was like, I want to start doing jiu-jitsu again. And actually, I was like, I think I want to start striking again.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to, like, because when we were in India, like, we definitely dealt with some handsy people and some, like, interesting situations as white people. And in my head, I'm like, I did karate at this point nearly 10 years ago. Like, I still kind of know how to throw a punch, you know, turn my hips into it. You know, I could probably throw any kicks below the chest. I'm not getting a head kick anywhere, like, at all. But yeah, I definitely was like, I want to do some more striking and work on myself so I'm a bit more confident when we go back out. And I think the more you talk about this, the more I'm convinced on the real life. Again, like, I completely see what you're saying as well, that MMA wise, you know, this is why, you know, a big question me and Tom had is, why haven't we heard, you know, oh, you know, this is so-and-so Sung Yadong and he's a Krav Maga dude, you know, or, you know, we haven't heard that. So I think that clears a lot of it up for me, and actually has made me go, shit, man, I'm like, yeah, I definitely need to know how to break someone's face with an iPhone. Like that.
Also, I mean, the way you described just a session, I think, is really interesting, because my perception of it was mostly part one and not part two and part three. Part one was sort of this, you know, where you're in situations and you try to, you know, break holds and defend yourself and de-escalate, that whole thing. When you talked about part two was actually getting on the ground, let's do some grappling, let's look at technique there. And then the third is some straight kickboxing stuff. Well, that's a really nice blend of several disciplines within one session. Like even more so in some respects than singular disciplines. So jiu-jitsu is going to be two hours of, you know, different aspects of rolling, right? And not so much stand-up, right? So it seems like it's a really nice blend of disciplines just to give you a taste of any, you know, most situations that you could be in.
So for beginners, the thing I always say, so I think Krav Maga is excellent for anybody who doesn't know martial arts. And the reason for that is it will teach you specifically how to defend yourself. So if you've got nowhere to go with, your first goal is usually, I don't want to get beat up, right? So if that is your goal, like it's a nice way to go to begin because everything's built around that. It's not like about sport. The second way I would say is I think Krav Maga and I think Jiu-Jitsu. And Jiu-Jitsu is because you can have that like proper fight to the death experience and then you're both fine at the end.
Yeah.
And that's you know, you just tap and he's cool and then you do it again and then it's good. And that if you do that, if you go that hard in striking, someone is definitely going to get hurt, you know.
Yeah.
In jiu-jitsu you can do that. And so I think for noobs, for people that haven't tried martial arts or people that are like just starting out, I always recommend Krav Maga and jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Do you know what? I was actually going to ask as well quickly before I wanted to actually go towards UFC kind of stuff, but I wanted to ask you. You talked a lot about jiu-jitsu, and obviously, how long have you been doing it? What belt are you at in jiu-jitsu? Obviously, you're G5 in Krav. What are you rocking in jiu-jitsu at the moment?
So I have been training in jiu-jitsu on and off since 2014.
Oh wow, shit, dude,
A
amazing.
bunch of different places, and I am a blue belt, which I got last year.
Nice, dude, badass.
Nice.
That's badass, dude.
Dude, the like, I mean, you know, it's jiu-jitsu is, there's a threshold that you got to get through, and I would say getting to a blue belt is way through that threshold, and now you're out the other side, and you have some serious competency, you have some serious submissions, you can roll with browns, right, and actually roll with them. And some, you know, when we were in school, some blues were absolutely given, you know, higher belts all they could handle. And that's I think consistent with just about any school, right? Because your style, if you have a certain style as a blue belt and it's a weakness in, you know, the higher purple or brown belt, they're gonna have trouble with you.
So when I started in 10th Planet, my game was mostly judo. I used to train like I say, like judo niwaza was really my game, like top game. Maybe I'm going to do a takedown and then I'm going to pass the guard and I'm going to try to get the mount and I'm going to try and do like an armbar or Americana or something like this. Yeah. And now I'm a guard player and my thing is leg locks. That's like that's my favorite thing to do, and I do it like all the time. Will says I'm like a dog with a bone. I just literally go leg lock, leg lock, leg lock, leg lock, leg lock. Thing. But yeah.
Are you X guarding or are you like what position are you playing?
I do Ashy, super basic.
Nice.
Ashy.
Okay, cool.
Like Eddie Cummings was the guy that like I started watching on EBI, early EBIs. Like, so again, Will totally guided me on this. He got a just after I started with him, he got a seminar in on a from a 10th Planet guy whose name has slipped my mind. I can't remember. Anyway, he was really good. He did a leg lock seminar, and I was like, right, if I want to get good at any of this stuff, I need to start playing off my back. I need to just stop the ego of trying to be the best one here and trying to be on top and trying to play my game. And I have to try and learn guard. So I started doing that, and then I just started attacking the legs, and then I just kept attacking the legs, and then it all just started to click in. And I was taking some private sessions, and also there's Will does morning drilling classes, and I would go along to the leg lock ones of those and just drill for an hour, and it just gets in, and then yeah.
Nice.
This isn't the 6 a.m. class, is it? Is this a
That's right.
wow?
Yeah.
And so you're traveling an hour and a bit from Bath.
So I don't do the 6 a.m. class now, but I
Yeah.
did at the time. I was doing all the lunchtime classes because I do like during the day I do private sessions for my students, and and in the evening I teach my classes. So pretty much for probably a period of like I'm not really sure, but like I would say around 4 to 6 months, if I wasn't teaching, I was either on my way to Swindon or I was already there.
Amazing, man.
Dude, the commitment level is beautiful, and the threshold I think you were talking about, Tom, with going from white to blue, is the commitment to jiu-jitsu that really like pushes you into those upper like echelons.
I don't know if that's me.
You're right. Oh, we might have just lost him.
He'll be there hopefully.
Right, let's see what happens. Right,
So,
guys, bear
yeah.
with us during these technical difficulties. We may have just lost Ryan to some Wi-Fi issues.
But I think you're right. As far as like it is, a lot of it is pushing through to, like it's getting past the place where you're the training dummy for weeks at a time,
Yeah.
right? And at some point you start just getting a competency in actually competing, and then you get that day that, and we may have Ryan come back here on this feed if we lose him completely. But you get that day, I remember in jiu-jitsu, where you literally like...
It just bumped out.
No, he'll be back in a minute, hopefully.
Give him a message.
Yeah.
Yeah, this day where you suddenly start, it's also an ego loss day as well, I would say. It's a big one in terms of like ego loss and things like that. So it's an important one in terms of making sure that you are, I guess, like, again, it's commitment. Like you're fully on board. Yeah, what's up? You're back.
Nice. I'm back.
What's up, man? You're right. You're right. No, we were just talking about this progression, this jiu-jitsu progression from our perspective on how to get sort of past this wasteland of being a beginner, that you're like you're the training dummy for weeks at a time, and then all of a sudden you just get a little bit of like
it's that first submission. When you get that first submission, when you submit someone for the first time, you're like, oh shit. You're like, wait, I just did that. Like I just tapped you out. How did that, like, I knew what I was doing. You're like, whoa. And suddenly then it's like, it's game over from there.
Totally. Yeah, 100%. I mean, to be fair, I was terrible at jiu-jitsu for a very long time, and it was because I think I was way too aggressive. Like from coming from the Krav Maga and also the Thai boxing and stuff. I just went in with that, like, I'm gonna fizz through this, like, and it just doesn't work. So for me, like, the advice that I would always give to people is if you can chill out and think about what you're doing, you'll do better. Like, I mean, Will still tells me that all the time because I think I'm doing it, but but it's that's definitely the way to get through. Just think about what you're doing and don't worry. Like if you tap out, you tap out. It's no big deal. And just keep trying to get better.
And as a beginner, you get to a place where you really, like, you can seize your mind up where you can't think about anything. You're actually just doing one thing, which is trying to get out of whatever they're putting you in. And for someone that's really high level, you're probably moving into a place where they can fully submit you, right? Because you're just reflexively, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go there.
Yeah.
And a high level jiu-jitsu player wants you to go there as well, right? So you're just gonna, sort of accelerate your path to being submitted quickly.
There's a computing power thing that I call it computing power. So like, and then Will is, I mean, he's crazy good. Like it's frustrating sometimes. Like there's always another foot. It's really annoying. But like his computing power is so much that, like, by the time I've realized there's some space, he's already filled it. Like he's already filled it and he's doing something else, And so I'm still trying to catch up and trying to just react to what's there. But like, and it's the same, like when you like you guys were saying, when you get that first submission, when the noobs are coming in now, it's like his computing power is way behind your computing power, and you're just like pow, pow, pow. It feels great, right? But then there's just always that next level, like. Yeah.
Do you know what? I heard a amazing quote from Henzo Gracie. And he was talking about like his breathing techniques that he does with his stomach that
Yeah.
Kron is like doing and whatnot. And he was like, my whole philosophy with jujitsu is I am never attacking and I am never defending. I am simply just waiting for an opportunity.
Hmm.
And like I was like, that's such a great way to describe the headspace you need to be in is just whatever comes your way. If you need to defend, then you're defending. If you see an opening, then you're attacking. You know, and I think it's a really good way to remember, just be calm, be neutral, and be ready for what comes your way and deal with it appropriately.
Those openings will come eventually.
Yeah,
Even
exactly.
in the other person's seeking an advantage, even if they have a slight advantage, you have an opening, right, in turning that advantage and their momentum into a disadvantage for them and into advantage for you. So anything that any kind of movement at all is, I mean, and and we're talking philosophically right now, but someone that's really high level that can do that, it's beautiful, right? It's like art
Yeah.
doing that.
Another thing with jujitsu is like you only need a really little bit more experience than the next guy, and it's effortless.
Yeah.
So like and that's the thing as well. Like you were talking about that kind of struggle when you first come in. Like everyone goes through that. Like, okay, I suck at this. It's really hard, and then you get that other person who sucks a little bit more. And you're like, yes,
Yeah.
yes, and then and you just get that little further up. But I think it's a great process. It's very different mindset to like Krav Maga, and very different mindset to like most striking styles, I would say. But I think it's really useful. And as well, another thing about like martial arts on the whole, like you can't be like mega arrogant. You can't do that because you're gonna be humbled. It's gonna happen, right? And you can't be like mega anxious because you have to do it. You know, you're going to be there and you're going to be grabbing people and you're going to, so you have to get through those things. Like if you're one way or the other, you're going to get a little bit balanced. Not saying that's going to completely, fix everybody's mental health problems, but at the same time, it's like, it helps to like put you on that like, center path.
Do you know what? That's a really perfect point for my segue that I want to make. I think your point is so right. Most people will definitely get humbled at some point. Like it's so rare that you don't get humbled in your fighting career that it's like that's almost unheard of. Like everyone loses at some point. Now, what I was gonna follow into is obviously being humble, respect, martial arts. It's in it. Going over to MMA, how does that make you as someone who's an instructor teaching, like you said, teenage girls and young kids going respect, humble, be chill, like this is for defense. If you can, run away, don't fight, but if you do have to fight, here's how you do it, kind of thing. How does that make you feel seeing people like Conor McGregor and like the Chael Sonnens and the not Cody Garbrandt, the Colby Covingtons, thank you, who are these, obviously a lot of it is persona, they're doing it for money and whatnot, but at the end of the day they are still people who are representing sports, the things that you love, the things that we enjoy watching and very much love as well, and
in particular martial arts, which has a code of conduct,
ethics,
of respect.
Yeah. How does that make you feel?
It's a great point. So I would counter with like, let's go DC.
Yeah.
And
we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that, yeah, for sure.
But like, I mean, there are like really, and to be fair, Stipe, there are some really sound guys out there too. Like they're not the loud ones, obviously. Like one of my like Cain Velasquez was one of my favorites because he just never went into it at all, and then he just destroyed everybody.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. I mean, it depends on who you follow. And I think on the face of it, because you hear the loud ones, you can kind of misconstrue it and think that everybody is, trying to fight outside the arena and attack a bus and stuff like that. And there is that side. But I mean, some of the girls in my kids class love UFC. Yeah. It's actually one of my students, I think it's her birthday on UFC 252. Shout out
Oh,
Jasmine. But
amazing.
yeah,
Nice, nice. Dope,
yeah.
dope.
But I think she's got really into to UFC. But yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, but it's on the flip side, it brings so many more fans into martial arts because like you get the loud people and more people watch, and then they think everyone's angry at each other. So it's like, oh, that looks fun. It's a bit more EastEnders, right? And it brings the flip,
Yeah.
you know?
But within the UFC, there are certain representatives of the martial arts ethos that are exceptional, right? So you look at someone like Khabib, who is a killer, right? He's an out and out killer. He's 28-0 and you know that whole thing, but super super respectful.
I mean, Rose Namajunas is
Yeah.
another one, you know.
I would say most of them come from that philosophy of,
Yeah.
you know, I have to compete and actually try to hurt you here.
And there's
But once we're
honor.
done,
Yeah.
no lingering effects.
That's,
Yeah.
do you know what? It's one of the most beautiful things at the end of a fight when you see two dudes like, you know, again, two dudes who have been beefing for, you know, obviously we do UFC like build-ups from the announcement, the leaked announcement all the way through to the actual announcement through to the fight, you know. So we're hyped as is. And they're giving each other shit all the way through. But there's nothing more awesome to see than two guys who are giving each other shit, and at the end of the fight, they're like, "Man, that was a brawl. Like, brother, come here and like give me some love. Like, that's awesome," kind of thing. Like, that's a really beautiful thing to see in the octagon for sure. Definitely makes me happy when I see that shit.
Well, think about it. Like, okay, and I certainly cannot relate to this, but I can describe the steps along the way. So these guys have trained incredibly for years and years and then have a camp that is preparing them for a fight with this other person that they're probably thinking about just about every day for 8 weeks or 10 weeks or 12 weeks. And then they walk through, not in COVID times, but walk through an arena with thousands of people. And you know, like probably half of them are for you and half of them are against you. So you have both of those emotions going. We step into a cage pretty much naked, right? You've got right, you have no shoes on, you have nothing on, right? And you're gonna
It's a good
I
point.
never thought about
it's
that. That's so
Me
true.
either. Me either.
right. And so you step into this cage, the door closes, and you're staring at this other guy across from you, and you both have committed to hurting each other. Like there's mad amounts of like, I don't know, experience, emotion, like you're going through this relationship with this person, right? And if you can't acknowledge that at the end of it, after having beaten the shit out of each other as well for however many rounds it is, and say, wow, we do this and we did that. Like that's pretty unique in like human experience. They do some really crazy shit, right?
Yeah,
For sure.
sure.
Yeah. I was actually planning on having my first amateur fight this year. Obviously that's not happening now. But Will is hooking me up with the potential of having one in mid to early next year. So like yeah, I'm really interested to kind of
Go through that.
yeah, it's not something that, I mean, I've competed only in grappling. I've been training for a long time, but I've been competing only in grappling. So I'll be very interested, yeah, to see.
You know what? It's interesting. So, like the only thing I've competed in is striking, actually.
Yeah.
And as a young lad, when I was doing it, I was like, I loved it, and I was actually exceptionally good at the time. I ended up becoming the champion of Spain in my weight class, but I basically they changed how it was done, and it wasn't done by weight anymore. It was done by level, and I was much small. Imagine like 4 foot me, like even skinnier than I am now somehow, and I like it was interesting when they changed that though. I started fighting dudes who were of the same belt level as me, but they were like 3 times my age, 3 times my size. And I remember a dude kicking me in the head, and it was my last fight. He like, and I knew it as well. This is the thing. Tom talks about this. It talks about, you know, you study someone. I knew I was going to be fighting him. I'd seen him fight for years because we fought in the same circuit, and I knew his move was a spinning heel kick. I knew it. Like I always knew it, and I was like, cool. and I worked on my counter. I was like, cool, I'm gonna slip this heel kick, swipe his leg, and try and finish with a punch if I can. But if he goes down off the swipe, then whatever. When he hit me with that wheel kick, and I didn't slip, I just saw it coming and let it hit me. Dude, I was like, I'm done with this forever. I was like, I do not ever need to be hit in the head that hard ever again. And I would love to hear, dude. And not only if, dude, it does happen, please get us some tickets, dude. Give us like a link, send us a link or whatever, dude. We would love to come and watch you fight. And not only that, but yeah, dude, I would love to hear your opinion after the fight of how you're feeling about getting punched in the face and shit, you know?
Well, this leads to, and I'm struggling with his name, but he was just released, I think, today. But he fought about a month ago in the UFC, and it was his debut fight in the UFC.
Oh, I remember, yeah.
His last name starts with an R, and really high level in the local competitions, and had a lot of buzz coming around him entering into the UFC. And he got into this fight. It was a 3-round fight, prelim card. First round was pretty competitive, and he had been finishing people in the first round pretty consistently. The second round starts, and I think in his mind, he probably thought he should have won by then, and got into the second round and got sort of taken into the deep water conditioning-wise. Finishes the second round, goes back to the corner, and starts, like, you could hear it in the corner. He said it probably about 10 times or more.
Oh, yeah. He's like, I'm done.
He's like, I'm done. And there was that moment, right, where whether it was temporary or permanent, we don't know. What we do know is, as of today, is the UFC has cut him. But at that moment, he had that same decision, which was, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't look at this as a competition anymore. I look at this as, I don't want to deal with what's coming in this next round.
Yeah.
And fair to him, right? I mean, that's a really, first of all, how hard is it to do that, knowing
that thousands of people are watching?
Yeah. And so, respect him either way. However, if it plays out, and whether he comes back, watch him again. And if he doesn't come back, dude, you did it, you experienced it, and you can live to talk about it. So, but yeah, that's to this experience, right? It's a very unique experience.
Yeah, crazy ride.
Yeah, 100%. So 252, dude. Give us work through. Do you want to talk about? I mean, again, just so you know where we're at, we are involved with the UFC in terms of watching, but typically we're noobs on the prelim card, typically, but we're often a lot more up to date on what's going on main cards. But typically, actually, I know a decent amount in the prelims. I'm a lot more into it.
Sometimes if a young guy's coming through, like when Chase Hooper was coming through, he was on the prelims.
Yeah. When Sugar Sean was coming
Sugar
up
Sean
as well,
has been on the prelims. Now he's on the main card.
There's a bunch of people. Maurice Green.
Yeah.
Luis Pena. Bunch of people.
But for the most part,
British ones on there recently, to be fair.
Yeah. So the three. I mean, I am familiar with the top, the 2 co-main events, and then the undercard below that. If you guys want to talk about the others, I'll blag it. But I'm really sort of.
Let's go to what you know.
All right. So, let me want to go with DC first. DC
yeah, let's start with the big one. Let's start with the big boys.
Yeah. That's cool.
All right. So you're DC, man.
I'm a huge DC fan. Like, I just love DC. I think he's great. And I can't remember, but there was he said this. He put this thing out before, like after he was in a bad place in his head after when he lost to Stipe, And I know it's just an excuse, and he got like knocked out. That's cool, but I just feel like he's just it's gonna be like the first fight all over again, I think. But I say he was body shots from Stipe, right? It was body shots from Stipe that was like shutting him down, and I'm hoping maybe DC's like changed that game plan a little bit,
What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, so I think to your point, and a huge advantage that DC has is that it's being fought at the Apex in Vegas, and that octagon is literally like a meter smaller all the way around. So it's a huge advantage to grapplers and a disadvantage for those that want space or want to just have some defense against being taken down. So I think immediately there's an advantage for DC. I'm going the other way, I think. I just see DC everywhere right now. He's on ESPN, he's with Ariel Helwani. He's like busy, right? And I kind of saw it with Woodley as well, where Woodley was doing like
Mhm.
rap albums, and then he was like on Fox News, and he's like doing all this stuff.
Not
And
the
he just
chosen one
lost.
anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He's just lost. Like, there's a certain part of you that has to be really, really hungry
Yeah.
and still sort of sleeping rough, so to speak, like not having arrived yet, right? To really get into that deep water,
Yeah.
right? And so Stipe to me, he's just a fireman. I know he's got money in the bank, sure, but he's a simple guy. You know, he's out there. And this is all perspective from afar. So who knows how much of this is real or not? But I think when push comes to shove, DC from afar looks like he hasn't, like, his mindset is not on this fight 100% because he's just spread out across so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go with Stipe in a decision, but it'll be competitive and fun to watch. That's Ryan.
Do you know what? I literally did not think about DC and the amount of media that he's doing. That's such a bloody good point. Like I literally didn't even consider that.
Yeah.
I actually was thinking more about the weight. Like here's the thing is like you know what, Ryan? I think your point of DC is going to be so much more dangerous this fight than he was the second one because he knocked Stipe out and was like, "Cool, I want to just knock dudes out now. I got this like heavyweight power, and I just became heavyweight champ, so I'm gonna just do it again." And I think you're right. I think he's going to be a lot more dangerous. I think he's going to be a big problem for Stipe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, here's my my two opinions. I'll give you my opinion on DC, and then I'll give you my opinion on the fight. On DC, I disagree with you, dude. Because here's the thing for me. I was originally a John Jones fan as he came up
Right.
through like the early days of John, back when the fucking shorts still had sponsors on them, not Reebok. You know,
Yeah.
like early days UFC, and John was incredible. And I remember watching the DC fights and being heartbroken by John Petting, and I mean it sounds so ridiculous, but being like shit,
Yeah.
this is possibly the greatest MMA fighter ever, and he's cheating, and that's not cool. And then the second fight happened, and it happened again. And don't get me wrong, so I'm not saying that I stand on Jones's side on that. However, I do then, however, stand on the side of DC. Then took the championship
Mm.
after not, in my opinion, not having won it. Because at the end of the day, regardless of whether he was petting or not,
Mm.
he put you down twice. Like in the same fashion that Stipe did in the second fight, he put you down twice. So my thing is, I definitely appreciate him as what he does. He's one of the most dangerous wrestlers.
Mhm.
His lifts and slams are fucking
I just watched that
legendary.
lift from the second fight. He literally, like, it's like almost like walking Stipe around the ring, almost like
He's like, I'm about to put this guy on the ground.
and then he just like dumps him. It's so
Yeah.
great.
I think, DC's awesome, but for me, I struggle with his claim to this double champ like title. Like obviously he's
Yeah.
defended his title at light heavyweight, but I think to me, at the end of this, if he wins, I still go, you need to fight Jones to end your legacy. You need to beat him once to end the legacy. I would, in my
I know
opinion.
what you're
But
saying.
for this fight,
Mm.
DC's a badass. He's dangerous. He's got knockout power. He's smart. He's a wrestler. Everything says Stipe. Everything says DC. But the only other thing that I would put in Stipe's camp is he has been the heavyweight champion for a long fucking time. He has been knocking dudes out, and this has been his home. It's not like, and the other thing is from Stipe, as much as you talk about this drop in tenacity from DC, like I would say John Jones is starting to get very tentative with his striking. I would say, Tyrone Woodley got very tentative in his championship with his striking. Demetrius Johnson, later into his career, got very tentative with his striking. And I think it's because when you're a champ for so long, you start to go, shit, I don't want to lose this. So I'm going to play a safe fight and win rather than
Go
go Hail Mary like I used to. And I think Stipe is one of the few champs like Khabib and few people that I see out there that is like, cool, this is my first fight and I'm about to fucking drop you. Like, I don't care. I haven't seen that slowdown from Stipe. So I'm going to say DC, but my heart lies with Stipe is where I'm at.
Do you see how?
I think DC either fourth round knockout or decision.
Okay, nice.
That's
All right,
fair.
it is recorded.
Yeah, that's cool. I would say though, on the John Jones thing,
Mm.
like Cormier does say, like, I mean, it seems light heavyweight. That's John Jones's division, right? That's his thing. Like, fair play. But like heavyweight, he never came there. So like he doesn't have any kind of hold over the heavyweight belt. But I would say if he went up to heavyweight, then he could probably take it from whoever's got it.
Yeah. You know, I don't think you're wrong either, dude. I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah, I think John Jones is he's in the twilight of his career, and
Agreed.
I think he's got high miles because he's had some wars. He was amazing, but he's getting into that area where someone is going to catch him soon.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I think do you know what, interestingly as well, I think not Israel Adesanya's only been around for a small amount of time, but I think his legacy that he holds on his shoulders is starting to bear the same. And you kind of saw it in the Romero fight again, even though it was super slow and it was a technical chess match. It was like neither of them wanted to be touched. Neither of them was like, I do not want to feel your power at all. And I think it's interesting to see, you know, I would say, for example, you know, Khabib, every fight is like he's gonna drown you in Russian grappling.
Excellent.
Yeah, but you know, like there's very few champions that are in the UFC at the moment that have defended a belt for a really long time and still got. I would say Max Holloway, until he lost his belt, was one of those guys who's like, cool, this is about to be life or death. I'm gonna put you down if I can in this fight.
Yeah.
Like Max Holloway was one of them for a long time.
For sure.
But yeah.
Yeah. I think Costa could be the guy to do it. You know, with Izzy. Like,
one way or another, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because you know, I think Izzy will want to play the game he played with Yoel Romero. It'll be in a smaller cage, right?
Yeah.
And it'll be. I mean, I just don't think Costa has weight in his body. It's not a thing that computes. You know, like Yoel was like, okay, I'll play my game too. We'll both wait for the thing, and just nothing happened. I don't see Costa.
Oh, wait, as in WAIT.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't see that happening for Costa. Like, I don't think he's gonna just let stuff happen. I think he's just gonna be kill. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
And dude, Costa's traps. Like, dude, you do not want to be punched with someone that has traps. They're pushing their ears upwards, like literally.
Did you see the Yoel Romero fight? Costa Yoel Romero.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was just like a superhero fight.
Yeah. That was crazy. Yeah.
But I think to your point about Izzy and Costa, it's gonna be a sort of a truth machine for Izzy, right? Because he's gonna either come out as this person that we're kind of shaping him to be, which is pretty special, or he's gonna get waxed, right? Yeah. It's pretty much one or the other.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, hilariously, those are typically the options in an MMA fight.
No, but it's gonna be an extreme version of that.
Yeah,
like he's either gonna go out like, you know, out cold, or he's gonna knock out a Hercules.
I don't see that going to decision.
Yeah,
it's not going. No way going to decision.
No,
yeah,
I fully agree.
Yeah.
Sugar Sean versus Marlon Vera. Your thoughts, Ryan? Give us some insight.
Sugar Sean all the way. Do you know? I would really like to see like Sean O'Malley versus like I would say like Dominic Cruz is what? No, he's not. I think he's number 10, right?
Yeah,
number 10. So like I think he needs a fight like that, like so Dominic Cruz, so that he can kind of propel himself up into the top 10 a bit, and we can see that his awesomeness does translate to that like top level. But I mean, he's just so good, man. Like he's so good to watch.
Yeah, he's skilled. I think to your point about him not being in the top 10 yet, the UFC has had so many like stories of having accelerated someone too quickly. Truth. And then they're in with someone, you know, the Chase Hooper is one. There's another one recently, but I think they've done a really good job with Sean O'Malley, just keeping him out of the top 10 rankings wise and feeding him sort of the next step, because he's still young and, you know, he's going to get there. Right. But I look at Sean O'Malley as like, he's got to be top 5 right now, right? No, he's like 15 on the rankings. So I think they've done a good job with that. but yeah, I think this fight is he's super skilled. Like I'm just getting. It took me a while to really appreciate Adesanya, to really understand the level of skill in his stand-up and the feints and just the angles and space and all that. It's taken me a while to do the same with O'Malley, but I'm catching up to understanding how special he is. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I was so two things I'll say about the Sean O'Malley fight. The first one is, he is so good, and I think the most awesome thing to watch, if you watch his last fight when he did that little like uppercut fake and then dropped the dude, Eddie Wineland, that's who it was.
Yeah.
If you watch the like as the round, I think it's a first round knockout or second round knockout, whatever, whichever it is, as the fight goes on, you see him start picking up pace, and it's terrifying. Like when the sequence before he knocks him out, it's like a savage left to like the liver, and then he like pops him with a left to the face, steps back, goes for a spinning heel kick, misses it and slips, gets straight back up, and that's when he goes boom and puts him down. And you're like, that combination that he throws was so fucking fast.
Yeah,
it was
and advanced.
terrifying.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah, like that. The only thing that I'll be the one to bring up Cheeto. I'll be the one to bring up Marlon Vera. I follow him on Instagram, and I have done for a very long time. Actually, because he competed in a jiu-jitsu event, and I'm pretty sure he's a 10th Planet boy, Marlon Vera. And I think, for me, from what I've seen, he is not going to make this easy. And I said to Tom, I looked at his record. He is coming off of a loss, but every fight prior to that loss, he's won 5 fights in a row prior to that loss.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a problem. I think Sean is going to get challenged here.
Good.
And I would love to see it. But also, I agree with you. I think he's up there with the Aljamain Sterlings. I think he's up there with the Cody Garbrands. I think he's right there with all those dudes who are in that upper echelon fighting for the belt. You know, I think he could give Peter Yan a run for his money at this point.
He might, dude. I mean, but I think so he needs to get past Cheeto and then get a top, top 10.
Like, I mean, I reckon Dominic Cruz, right, will be, because he's number 10. He's like bottom there. Also, I don't really like Dominic Cruz, so like, nice to see him get beat up. But there you go. Anyway, like who would you get? Who would you pair him with? Like, if you were going to pick somebody to fight Sean O'Malley, who would you pick?
I'd love to see him fight Garbrandt. I think that could be a main event fight, because Garbrandt has his following sort of pre TJ, and he's coming back now. He's skilled. He's super skilled. Like his stand up is, and they both knocked. Were vying for knockout of the night that UFC. That would be a fun fight to see.
That'd be great.
Yeah. I would maybe go Aljo, because again, I actually kind of agree with you with the Dominic Cruz thing, because something that he is fighting is, if you watch, I was watching Wineland and Eddie Wineland and how he's like fighting, and the dude literally looks like a 1920s boxer with his mustache, and he stands as straight as them as well. He's literally like come on, stick him up kind of thing. And you're like, I think Aljo or Dominic Cruz, someone who is so unorthodox, will be a big problem for Sean as well, because, like I said, in that Wineland fight, he worked him out fast. And the moment that combo came in, it was like, uh-oh, this is like a big problem now. Like, he's picking up that pace. I think it will be harder to work out where Dominic Cruz's head is going to be. It's going to be hard to work out, Aljo's got his hands down here when those punches are going to be coming up from his waist, rather than, So I think, to me, I would put him in those higher guys. However, dude, Peter Yan, as much as, Henry Cejudo's calling him a renter championship, his boxing is terrifying, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
no, Peter Yan's the real thing. Yeah, like they're gonna have to go through fire to. Yeah, I think he's gonna have the belt for a while, and his presence in that division is gonna continue to increase, and he's gonna be known as just a super, a super defending champ for many defenses.
Do you know what? I kind of want to know. I would love to ask Dana White. Dana White, if you ever see this podcast, you're probably not going to, but if you do, and you want to respond to me, I'd love to know how you feel as someone who supports Trump about Russian dudes being your champions. You got Wei Ling, who's a Chinese champion. You got Khabib, who's a Russian champion. You're pretty much setting up Zabit as well to be a champ. Like, I need to know like how you're feeling about, you know, Russian people and these other champs, because that's got to be a hard one for Dana to be battling with morally. Or is he just business?
No, dude, and also, well, Trump is in Putin's pocket, so
That's also true. That's also
Dana's
true.
loving the Russian connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the last one is
Junior Dos Santos.
Dos Santos versus Rosenstruck.
Jardinho Rosenstruck.
Yeah.
Um,
Jairzinho is I think he's going to win by knockout. He's just come off a knockout to who was it?
Ngannou.
Nagano. Yeah. But that guy's scary. But I reckon he's going to win by KO, man. Yeah, that's what I would say.
I think so too. JDS is now sort of a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
It seems like he's just there to pick up a check.
Yeah.
And it's a tough way to pick up a check, but I mean, really.
Yeah.
But that's what it feels like. Rosenstruck has one more go at getting a title shot here in the next couple fights if he can win this, and then probably win one more, and then be lined up for maybe, who knows, like Ngannou versus who if both Stipe and DC vacate.
Here's all I'm gonna say about both. Well, Junior Dos Santos has started making a comeback. He's starting to look almost as good as he did in the early days, and it's really nice to see, especially at an old age. I agree with you. Jardinho is just he's a badass. He's been knocking dudes left, right, and center. And I said to Tom, getting knocked out by Francis Ngannou doesn't really count as being knocked out because the dude windmills his arms. He's just running at you like this, and if he somehow connects, you're just going down. So like 20 seconds of him just running at you.
He's so powerful, man.
Yeah.
Like it's insane how like he's so strong. It's like he was literally created to punch people. You know, like
the punch against Jardinho wasn't like on the jaw. It was like, you know, just like almost like a glancing blow.
Yeah.
It was not like a pure knockout punch, and he was done.
Do you know what is interesting? I'll share.
It's like he could.
Go on, Ryan. Go on, Ryan.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, like it's like he could just like backhand you, and that's it. You know, like you're going to sleep. Like so powerful.
Do you know what? I heard Rogan actually brought something up. So apparently Francis either came to Rogan's studio or they did some sort of thing where they were like testing power. And apparently one of Francis Ngannou's jabs is equal to one of Joe Rogan's spinning sidekicks in terms of power. And I'm not sure if you've seen those videos of Rogan kicking bags. It's fucking terrifying. Like, can you imagine someone who punches with the power of like a roided out black belt taekwondo? Like, what? That is insane.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Well, I think there's a machine at the performance, what do they call it, the PTI in Vegas that measures strength on kicks and punches. So they both sort of topped out at the exact same level. Rogan with a kick and Ngannou with a punch. So that's crazy. That's ridiculous. But then here's the other side of that. Stipe neutralized it completely.
That's
took him to the ground.
Yeah, that's
right?
a good point.
100%. Yeah, to be fair though, Nagannou's arms are about the size of Rogan's legs. He's a big boy.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's true. Like, it's funny. I say to Tom, it's hilarious when you watch the like bantamweight women fights and like the flyweights and you know the guys fight, and then a heavyweight fight comes on, and the dudes like heads. They're talking to their coaches above the ring. Their coaches are on boxes looking over the ring, and they're just like, yeah, high five. Like,
it's crazy, man.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Just hanging on the fence, like with their chin, like on the top of the fence in between rounds, just relaxing. It's just nuts.
Okay, I gotta. You mentioned the women.
Yeah, go on.
There's a bit of late breaking news. I don't know if you've heard of it, Ryan, but Paige Van Zandt she just fought. I think it was Amanda Ribas in the last UFC, and was submitted in. It was like
First
a minute.
round, yeah,
very quickly. Ribas is a high-level submission artist from. I think she's Brazilian, and Van Zandt was about a 50-50 fight, so she definitely underperformed. But that was her last fight in the UFC contract. And coming up to that fight, there was question whether she was going to go out and re-sign with UFC or test the waters. So she has tested the waters, and people thought she was going to go sign with Bellator. Instead, she has signed with bare knuckle.
I saw this.
Yeah.
Saw this.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Now bare knuckle paid her the most. I think clearly the most. So I think she's going to make in the whole package about $1 million.
Yeah.
But she is going to be fighting bare knuckle. But it's bare knuckle against other
Yeah.
women.
That doesn't matter, dude. If you get punched by Wei Ling or Amanda Nunes, even you or me is dying.
But here's the thing.
Like,
I'm just thinking about this now. So bare knuckle is just sort of beginning, right? And they had this this challenge fight with, who was it? It was Paulie Magliotti and an MMA guy who's part of like Connor's crew or something like that. And that was a high level fight, promo wise. But if you think of women, like the UFC has trouble filling out the lower levels of just UFC fighters. I wonder if the talent level in bare knuckle is so low.
Oh, yeah.
Is so low that Paige is going to dominate. Like she's going in at a pretty like, I mean, as low risk as bare knuckle could be. I just thought about that.
I think with the bare knuckle, like, I mean, you're gonna get cut, man. Like,
yeah, you're gonna get cut.
Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, even if the level is really poor, someone's gonna hit your face and you're gonna bleed. And
yeah.
like it's gonna. I mean, that's cool. Like, I mean, do you guys know about left weight? I mean, you mentioned left weight, didn't you?
Yeah. So I was in one of those 2 a.m. in the middle of a like bad UFC fight night that I don't really care about YouTube digs.
Yeah.
And I was looking at Muay Thai stuff, and left weight came out, and it's good. Go for it. Explain it to people.
Yeah, man. So I got into left weight through Fight Pass, man. Like it was like I'm like, what's on tonight or tomorrow, whatever. I think my wife was away, so I'm just like, see what's on. And there's like left weight, and I just previously watched some like combat karate. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
And I was like, it was really
fun.
On
the sloped,
they're in the
like
pit.
ring, yeah.
And I was like, this is fun. Like, it's fun. I was like, I want some other crazy fun martial arts to watch. And so I was like, I don't know what this is. So I put that on. I was like, I'll put that on. And I Googled it a bit, and I was like, bare knuckle. And I was like, headbutts. And then it's like, you have to, I mean, to be fair, the WLC, which is the big one that's on Fight Pass, they don't do this rule. But in the like traditional left way rules, if you knock the guy out, their corner gets something like, I can't remember, so maybe 8 minutes or whatever to resuscitate them. And then they send them back in. So you've got to knock them out like twice in one round to win. And that's another thing, right? If nobody gets knocked out, you both lose.
Records are terrible. People's records are atrocious.
It's crazy, and it's awesome though. It is awesome, and like, so I happened to watch it on the time when Dave LeDuc was fighting for the WLC championship. Just happened to be the one on, and he fought that Seth somebody from the UFC. Wow, I was like, that was amazing. Like, you talk about flow state, like, man, the way he was moving in that, it's like, it was insane. So like then I like spent like the rest of the night not sleeping, instead just YouTubing all of his fights, like all of his fights. I actually got the opportunity to train with him last year.
Wow.
Yeah, it was super cool. At Fire Gym in Reading, and it was really awesome. Like the changes between like the clinch is completely different because you can get headbutted, and I can't not see it now when I watch like MMA and Thai boxing. When I see the clinch now, I'm like, he's gonna headbutt. I'm like, no, wait, no, that's not a thing. You know? Like, it's weird, like, but it's man. I loved training with David LeDuc. He's a super nice guy, and mate, left way is so cool. I think that's just gonna get bigger and bigger.
So let's talk about the difference between hand wraps for left way and bare knuckle.
Camera,
hang on a second. Our camera's just gone. But so, as far as you know, for left way, what is the wrapping requirement?
So they have it's not like basic hand wraps. They have literally like a bit of bandage, a little bit of gauze on the knuckle, like gauze and like cotton wool on the knuckles, and then they put like wire tape, like in an X, to keep it on your hand, and that's it.
And that's it.
That's it.
With bare
So
knuckles, are they using some plaster? Did you
So
say?
yeah, I think isn't it in bare knuckle that they actually like do a little bit of plastering on the wrist so that
I'm not really
people aren't
sure.
breaking their wrists, or is
I
it just
haven't seen
mad
that.
wrapping?
Yeah, I know. I haven't seen that. The
Mm.
left way, there's nothing. It's just literally a bit of bandage and some tape.
Do you know what I was gonna say? You know, watching Dave LeDuc, you mentioned like that gorgeous flow state. You know, and you know we talk about upper echelon MMA fighters. You know, Khabib, watching him wrestle, watching John Jones strike. I was actually gonna say, within the Muay Thai world, you've got like Sanchai, who is like when you and this dude like he's in his 40s now, and he's like still fighting when COVID wasn't happening every Saturday. Like he would be fighting like every Saturday, and he is like watching him fight is so spectacular. Like it's just beautiful. It's like you said, it's art. It's like watching Picasso paint in front of you. It's like Da Vinci coming up with a fucking helicopter right before your eyes. You know?
It's like I think we can possibly relate to this in some abstract way, but like you were saying, one piece of advice you had was to have like be in the 30%, upper 30% percentile of all these different disciplines, right? If you broke down his discipline, right, and all of the different moves, all the different kicks, the different angles, punches, and everything, he's maxed those out, right? So in
Yeah.
real time, he can access any of it in that flow state, which is ridiculous, right? It must be so pleasurable for him, like literally to be in that space where he sees an opening,
Yeah.
right? And instinctually it happens. Like his response to the opening happens. He sees another opening, there's another response. And I mean, you mentioned it in jiu-jitsu as well, how Will's computer, his processor, is just a bit more advanced. That's like having like the latest Intel, like
Processor.
yeah, like
Right.
Core 9, right, against other people, and it's just
Yeah.
it's really cool to watch.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Sanchai is just crazy, insanely technical. Are you guys into Thai boxing? You like Muay Thai?
So I definitely follow a lot of people who do it, and I don't ever watch live events, but I typically am watching highlights from a few of the guys that I follow and things like that.
So Liam Harrison, he is from Bad Company in Leeds, and he fought Sanchai twice. He's been a world champion a number of times. He's British. He's in Leeds, and he is awesome. Like his like he does like everything is a bajillion% power. You know, when you see those guys in the gym, they're like ah ah ah.
Yeah,
That's Liam Harrison. But like he does like really good throws, like takedowns, throws, things like that. You know, just sweeping people over, and it's he's really cool to watch. So like if you're into Thai boxing, check him out.
sweet.
He has a really you were just talking about like the change from bare knuckle to MMA gloves to bare knuckle. So Liam Harrison fights. I don't know if he still is, but he was. I think maybe he is still fighting now in one championship in the Thai boxing division. But they don't use big gloves. They use MMA gloves.
Yeah.
And he has a Joe Rogan podcast, which I recommend watching also. But like he talks about having some real differences in like not being able to use like Thai boxing long guard because he's getting caught, and obviously like landing a punch with no glove on there and his guard being different, and some really, really interesting insights. And yeah, like I would say, like if you do like that kind of ridiculously high level Thai boxing, check him out. It's super cool.
That would be interesting. Like the different rules for different disciplines would require completely different
Yeah.
styles, right?
And do you know what? Thai boxing is awesome. It's so funny as well. Like one of my favorite things actually, and we talk about all these guys learning new techniques as people who spectate this sport. One of my favorite things was being a noob in the beginning who was like, I have dudes are punching each other and rolling around. This is cool. To now being like fully informed on exactly what is happening pretty much in all moments. You know, noticing that when someone comes out with like a front bouncing leg and they're a bit more like this, you're like, oh, Muay Thai, that dude is straight up going to be Thai boxing. I know exactly where that's going, you know. And you instantly, like, based off of stance and like, you know, you can see instantly with you know, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, he's like this, you know, and you're like, oh, he's throwing karate. You're like, Lyoto Machida, same thing. You know that again, Eddie Wineland's kind of up here. He's probably going to be boxing you. You know, it's so I think also as viewers, it's really cool to be able to notice those little things and be able to go, you know, oh, that's, you know, so funny when on the rare occasion that my mum does watch UFC with us, which she does like fucking when she can't sleep on a UFC night, basically. She'll come in and be like, "What's happening? Like, what are they doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, you know, he's currently sweeping him. He's doing like an old school sweep to get into mount or like to sweep into his guard. And oh, and now he's trying to isolate one arm to like get into a triangle." And she's just like, "How are you seeing that?" And it's like that's something that is really cool about it as well as someone who does it, someone who watches it. You learn a whole new lingo. Same with any sport. Don't get me wrong. As I say this as if it's unique. I skateboard and I say shit that no one understands skateboarding wise, you know. But it's super cool to be in with that crowd, I think, and to be able to, you know, correctly commentate on a fight in your own head is pretty cool.
You mentioned you don't care for Dominic Cruz much, but he is, for me, he's a really technical announcer. Like I like him describing things that I don't quite see, or he's just a little bit more technical, a little bit more refined in seeing what's going on. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I don't know. I find him a wee bit arrogant, I think, and also, like he moves so weird, like so
yeah, he does.
Like, and he would, you know, I like to be able to say, yeah, that guy would kick my ass. Look at how awesome he is. But with him, I'm like, that guy would kick my ass, and he moves like a weirdo. You know?
You're like, it's a double loss. This guy is fucking strange, and I got fucking knocked out. Oh, don't. I remember saying to Tom, like, watching him fight, you're almost a little bit uncomfortable. You're like, why are you moving like that?
Yeah.
You can't replicate it. It's so weird.
Yeah.
It's all like off rhythm stuff. Yeah, it just and to prepare for him. How do you prepare for him, right? There's no like, oh, this guy fights just like Dominic Cruz.
Well, I guess my kind of metaphor for that would be fighting some guys, like, you know, some guys who are one-dimensional fighters. It's probably like listening to classical music. You know, it's very straightforward. The notes are on the page in front of you. Dun, 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 dun. It's probably a pretty straightforward process to plan for and to train for. However, I can imagine training for Dominic Cruz is like jazz. Like, there's that like improvised like mistiness. You've got to try and be like, okay, I'm gonna just get in there and just have to feel it out. Like I can watch as much tape as I want, but it's gonna just be an improvisation kind of thing.
What about this? To train for Dominic Cruz, you'd have like a regular MMA fighter, but then you'd also have a child in the ring that was an additional fighter, right? So it'd be like 1 against 1 1/4, right? But that child could move around in a different
place. Or you take a guy who's like a really good striker, and then you get him completely smashed, and then you say, right, let's go.
Yeah, get him to practice drunken style.
Would you just like move like weird and then randomly throw out strange punches at you from your hip?
Yeah, exactly. Shift all your body weight to one way and then throw a punch from your hip, like in an upward motion that is really confusing for everyone.
But somehow effective.
Yeah, you're like, how is he champion? You just, it's one that you definitely like look back on and you go, he was a straight badass. But yeah, just one of the, again, like as much as it's Anderson Silva, as much as he normalized the hands down, uber confident, like I'm gonna like pop you here, like that was weird as well. Like when you look back on it, like that was weird. Like seeing a dude not be like, oh, I'm gonna really guard my face and be really like, ooh, you know, kind of thing. Was interesting.
The upward side elbow. It wasn't on the UFC. It was on like one of his. I can't remember what he was on before that, but he did. It might have been on Rage. No, it wasn't Rage. Cage Rage or something like back when he was fighting in the UK. And like that, like diagonal or like an vertical upwards elbow thing. It's just like what?
Yeah.
What? It's madness. It's just like I'll just lean over to the side. And then elbow you and you go crazy.
Yeah. Do you know what is interesting? Talking about weird elbows, and one that like blew my mind. And you talk about like Thai boxing. So actually,
I know which one you're gonna
our
talk
love
about.
for martial arts actually originally started in movies. for you and me, like we watched Kill Bill and, you know, like old Jackie Chan movies and like original Tony Jaa, you know, stuff in we're in Thailand and stuff like that. And it was the Yair Rodriguez versus the Korean Zombie, and it gets into the last second, and he throws that weird like up elbow that comes out of nowhere, and I was like, the only other time I have seen that in my life was Tony Jaa in a movie to a stunt guy who was like leaning into like the elbow. You know, I was like, the fact that you catch someone with that
It's crazy.
Insanity.
The fact that you threw it to catch someone.
Dave LeDuc uses that a couple of times also.
LeDuc, yeah. LeDuc was on Rogan as well. That was a really interesting Rogan as well. Yeah. He's an interesting guy.
Yeah, super cool guy. I think that Lethway and bare knuckle is just becoming more of a thing, like everywhere. You know, we have a Lethway association in the UK. I think it's quite small and it's up north, but that's a thing.
Wow.
They have like champions and stuff up there.
Check that out.
Can you imagine someone from Thailand being like, "Yo, we need to take this to a really cold place. we need to take this idea to a really wet and far away island."
But they do like to fight.
yeah. I was gonna say they like to get drunk and brawl. So a headbutt, probably a good one to teach them. The Scottish are proficient at it at this point. You know, the old Glaswegian kiss.
Yeah.
No, do you know what? We're coming up to the 2-hour mark, dude. This has been absolutely awesome, Ryan.
Really good fun.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming on and being as open as you've been, as chatty and as jokey. You know, it's nice to have someone give back, a bit of back and forth. You know, we love it. We love a good bit of that when someone comes on and gives us some back and forth.
Cheers for having me on.
No, dude, it's been an absolute pleasure. Like, definitely have convinced me to look into Krav Maga lessons for sure. And if you're in Bath when everything starts opening up again, we're in Bristol, so it's a train ride or a bus for me.
Hop on over,
mate. I'm super. It's definitely a lot less distance for me to get to you than it is for you to get to jiu-jitsu. So I think I can manage that if you can manage to get to bloody Swindon, you know.
Yeah, man.
But no, yeah, I would love to, dude. It sounds absolutely amazing. And again, you've been awesome, man. It's been an absolute pleasure to get to know you as a person and like hang out. I'd love to, you know, again, like we say to so many of our guests, you know, we'd love to hang out with you. You end up being people that were like, yeah, we'd be really friendly with you actually outside of all this kind of talk.
yeah. It's been really fun, guys. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. And again, thanks Will for hooking this up.
Yeah. 100%. Will Stone, the man.
shout out your whatever it is you want to shout out, your contacts or whatever.
Cool. Yeah. So my gym is we're getting our own venue in so we're getting our own place, which is going to be like fully matted out and kitted out for martial arts on Bristol Road in Bath.
Nice.
That is happening pretty soon, and we're going to be running a jiu-jitsu class under Will, and we're going to be running plenty of Krav Maga classes all day long. So yeah, in Bath. Amazing. Krav Maga Elite.
Krav Maga Elite Bath. It's on Instagram, it's on Facebook.
Yeah,
awesome.
For us on our end, just one more time, our sponsor is Vist Kitchen. V-Star Kitchen, they're absolutely amazing. They're doing pickup on Thursdays and Saturdays if you got a date night. If you're by yourself and you're feeling sad because you don't have a date night, works either way.
Go to the website. You have to order in advance and then pick up on the day. So for a Thursday pickup, you have to order up to Wednesday. For Saturday, which is coming up, you have to order up to Friday, and then the chef will have it prepared, and then they'll run it out to you. Yeah. Highly recommended. It's killer vegan food.
Yeah, 100%. Final thing, the Holy Trinity, guys. We cannot repeat the Holy Trinity enough. Share any one of our posts, as well as that, like and follow our Facebook page. Do both, not one or the other, but both. And then subscribe to that YouTube channel. You can find all of that info on our Facebook page, our Instagram, and on the YouTube if you however you found this. But Ryan, dude, thank you so much. You've been a fucking badass, dude.
Thanks, Ryan.
It's been absolutely sick. And season 2, we'd love to have you back, dude, for sure.
Man. I look forward to hearing your next one. And yeah, I'm more than happy to come back on with you guys.
Thanks, dude. Thanks,
cheers, Ryan.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Right.
See you later, guys.
Bye.